welcome to another episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This is, of course, the podcast made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers, such as Kelly Mothershead here today. Excited to have you on the show. Kelly, how are you?
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm excited. I know we got the chance to meet. I guess it's when we featured you as a rising star in Tampa Bay Real Producers, which was within the last year. I forget exactly what episode it was in, or what issue it was in now.
Yeah, it was in September.
Okay, so almost a year ago now already. Man, time flies.
Already.
Huh? Crazy how fast that's gone. But that's where we initially met, was at one of our events that we did, where I think we got the frame for you and got a chance to meet you there. So we're excited to have you now on the podcast and dive in a little bit deeper to your story. So usually we get started there, like with your background. Did you grow up in this area? If not, what brought you to Tampa Bay, and how did you end up getting started in real estate?
So yeah, I did grow up in this area. I grew up in Hudson. Pasco County. So I've been in this area a long time. I've moved around, obviously a few times, back in Pasco County, Newport Richey area now. I didn't start out in real estate. I've done a lot of things. I was a director for a pathology laboratory. I owned a personal training and fitness center. 13 years I owned that.
Wow.
I had a really bad snow skiing accident and couldn't do personal training. I was in a wheelchair for 28 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't do personal training, so if you're not working, you're not making money, and had to do something else. So I was home in a wheelchair and decided to go online and get my real estate license.
And that was just a few years ago, right?
Yes, almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I went online, took the classes, passed the test, and decided I was going to do real estate. So I did both for a little while, and was just you just can't, if you don't give 100% to real estate, it just doesn't work for you. So it was very quick, just a few months when I decided I had somebody else running my other business for a while, and I got 100% into real estate and ended up ultimately sold my business and only doing real estate.
So have you found real estate to be a little bit easier on the body?
A little easier on the body, yes.
I can imagine. How long were you in the other business? How long did you have that?
So I had that business for 13 years, and that was in Lutz.
Okay. All right, cool. So that you were able to find a buyer for it and hopefully made a nice profit on that. So that's good.
Able to move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. So you got into real estate, was that 7 years ago then?
Almost 7 years ago.
And do you remember what that first year was like in terms of, was it fairly quick for you to get off the ground? Did you find a lot of struggles in that first year? How did that go?
So I was very blessed the first year. I started right out on a team with a friend of mine, and it helped me tremendously. And I'm one of those people that just, let me get in and do it, and I'll figure it out as I go, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did, but I had a lot of help along the way because I did start out on a team right away. So I had a very productive first year.
Good. What did that look like? Do you remember in terms of numbers?
So
how many transactions?
It was, number of transactions probably was about 16 transactions.
Solid first year for sure. And was that with KW?
That was I've always been with KW.
Okay. Yep. And so you worked on a team for how long?
I worked on a team for 4 years.
So I feel that comes up a lot in these podcast episodes, where people who tend to get off to these fast starts, which you did, which again was one of the reasons why you were featured as a rising star, right? It was is how quickly you were able to get noticed and get traction. A lot of times it's tied to that mentorship, that you have with the team leader, I guess, that you're working with, or maybe in some cases just having a great broker who actually takes an active role, in your development. But there's also a ton of agents out there, I'm sure who either go about it the independent way because they want more of the share of their commission.
Of course.
And unless you already have some acumen maybe in this space, I think that could be a tougher road to till, they say.
Really hard is to start out as a single agent. Unless you have family in the business or friends in the business that are helping you along the way, you do have to have help.
Yeah.
I think that we all think that we can jump in and do it ourselves. And so I was blessed to be able to have a lot of help around me to help get me started. And because I'm in an area where I grew up, I knew a lot of people active in the community. I did a lot of charitable stuff. And so I knew a lot of people, and that helps too.
For sure.
But I think that you either have to have a really good coach when you start out as a single agent, or on a great team where you have that mentorship, because that's what teaches you the foundation to be able then to go on and do it on your own.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think you mentioned it, the fact that you got to build something too with where you grew up. I have to imagine that makes some things a little bit easier so you can tap into that initial network.
For sure.
I know that's one of the strategies that a lot of the coaches teach is, make it easy on yourself. Find a way to not be bashful about your new business, but talk about it, get it out there that you are now in real estate and see who comes to you and be proactive in that way.
Yeah, and don't think that you have to do things the way everybody else is doing them.
Right.
You can make your own path. I've never done cold calling. I've never called FSBOs. I've never called expired leads. And for a lot of people, that's 90% of their business. But
Totally.
I've never had to do that because mine is my database and my connections in the community.
So you were able to get things rolling from that initially. That was how the snowball started, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And then has it grown in other strategies since, or is it still pretty much just network?
For me, it's pretty much still just my network.
Yeah.
But it's building relationships, networking, and past clients. Obviously, staying in touch with past clients is
Sure.
huge right now too. If you don't stay in touch with them, somebody else will.
For sure.
So
There's
really
no shortage of agents out there that would love to work with them, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't, somebody else is going to step in and do it. So I think it's really important just to stay in touch with people in your database and and do some fun things with them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So do you miss the other business at all? Is this, have you found your passion now and you love what you're doing more than you had before? Or what's the distinction between the two businesses for you?
So this is definitely my passion, but truly everything I've done has been about helping people. I was in a pathology lab where we diagnosed cancers. I then had my personal training studio helping people get healthy. And now it's helping people find their dream homes, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about helping people and helping them reach their goals and figuring out what their goals are. Sometimes it's helping them figure out what they really want.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess any true business that's a service-based business is going to have this element of service, right, to another person and being able to help them in some way. And in real estate, obviously, you're helping them find probably the biggest asset in their life, with their home. So I would imagine that is going to leave some sort of lasting impression that allows you to build on that relationship and hopefully work with that person over and over and over again as they invest or move or whatever the case may be. You know the stats better than I do, but doesn't the average person end up moving every, 3.5 years, something like that?
3.5 years, yep.
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
the
and
number?
and especially, you have the two groups of people that move more, younger groups of people, obviously job changes, family changes, move a lot. And then as they get older, you have you're upsizing when you start out small.
Yep.
And then as you get older, you want to downsize. You don't want all the stuff and you don't want all the things to take care of anymore. So you have those two groups that really do move quite often.
Makes sense. What's been your best year so far since you've been in the business?
This year.
Has it been this year? Congrats.
Yeah, for a lot of people are struggling this year, and for me, this has been my best year. So when I left that team, I went out as a single agent for a couple of years, and then last year I started my team. And starting a team can be rough too, and it's had its highs and lows. And right now we're hitting our stride.
Mm-hmm.
I have all new agents on my team right now within just the last couple of months.
That's awesome. How many people do you have?
So right now I have one other full-time agent and two part-time agents.
Okay.
I have an assistant, a transaction coordinator, and a marketing specialist.
So what made you want to eventually start building your own team? Was that always the plan?
It was not always the plan. Honestly, don't know that I had thought too much about it until I got very busy as a single agent and took my laptop on vacations and realized I spent the whole vacation on the laptop and
Yeah.
didn't get to really enjoy vacation.
That could be an eye-opener.
And that's
Yeah.
really hard to do when you're a single agent by yourself. It's hard to keep all the balls in the air and go on vacation for a week or 2 weeks. So I realized that I wasn't the only one struggling with that. So was everyone else.
Yep.
And so being on my team, one of the things that we really do is work really well together to make sure that we can help each other. And you can go on vacation, not worry about somebody stealing your clients, not worry about somebody not taking care of them, because we have some really good systems in place so we kind of handle things the same way.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think having that ability to step away, right, from your business when you want to try to enjoy a vacation. And if you're not able to do that, that can be a real eye opener that I need to scale. I need to get some people helping and get involvement.
Use that leverage. And I say leverage in everything. The first thing I said, my first leverage was hiring somebody to clean my house.
Yeah, right.
Getting people to do those things that are time consuming when you can be out making money versus doing the other things. And
Without a
so
doubt.
just even if you're not ready to start a team, find those people that you can leverage.
Makes sense. What's the most number of transactions you've done in a year when you were doing it by yourself?
32.
Okay, so solid year for sure. And so are you enjoying now the process of team building even more so than working as an independent agent?
Yes, it's very different because now you're taking in consideration of other personalities, other people. Everybody doesn't do things the way you do,
Yeah.
even though you want them to.
Right.
They don't, and you have to figure out what works for everybody. And so you have systems in place so that we all follow the same processes. But it is really interesting to get to know their personalities and figure out what works for them, but still keeping us all part of a team.
Yeah. And so your focus now and your goals, are they focused on team growth? Is that kind of where your
Team
focus
growth,
is at?
yeah, we focus on team growth, but we also focus on our individual team members' growth. So when we meet in October to go over our goals for next year, and we go over our personal and our individual and our team goals. So it's really important that you have your personal goals to make sure that your team goals kind of match what your goals are for your personal life.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And is there anything specific that you're looking for in terms of who you're trying to attract into your organization? Like, what have you come up yet with your list or your criteria of what makes a perfect team member for Kelly Mother? What's the team called? Is there a name?
So it's Kelly's Home Team.
Kelly's Home Team. Little shout out to Kelly's Home Team out there.
Yep. And some of the things that we look for are people that want to be engaged with their community.
Okay.
It's really important to our whole team that we are involved in the community and charitable organizations. Everybody on my team can choose their charity or their organization that they want to participate with.
That's cool.
I have a scholarship in my son's name. I lost my son to a prescription drug overdose 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm on the board for the Alliance for Healthy Communities and the Alliance for Addiction Prevention in Pasco County. And one of my clients actually made a donation to that organization on my behalf, and we ended up starting the scholarship program from her donation.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it is a requirement that they have to attend at least one networking group, join one networking group, and one charitable organization.
That's really cool. I've interviewed a lot of team leaders now on the podcast and even in the magazine. And I think I've noticed a trend for people who do it well and who have built great teams. It's important to have some sort of clarity on what your team's going to be about, like what you stand for, because then you're not just recruiting bodies for bodies. You're actually recruiting people that are going to buy into the vision and that are going to fit the culture.
Absolutely, and the culture is really important to us. And that was one of the things. And we also have an education piece. All of my agents have to attend 2 educational classes every month. Because again, you have to learn and grow. And as you know, this industry changes every week.
That's for sure.
You have to make sure that you stay involved in that. And that's, you have to be the expert in your field. And you can't do that if you're not continuing your education. So education's a big piece, creating relationships and giving back to our community.
I love that. We do a monthly panel, as you know, every month at Whiskey Cake. That could be one of the classes for you guys out there,
yes.
right? But
Absolutely.
But something to be able to help you get more knowledgeable and grow your brand, grow your brand awareness, just grow your understanding of how to be able to serve at a higher level. I think it's great.
When you serve other people, it comes back to you. Our focus is never out in the community to grow business. We're not out handing out business cards.
Yeah.
We're out giving back to our community and really, really just want to help people in our community. And that's what it's about. And then everything else comes back to you.
Is your team, Kelly, mostly focused in the area that you've been specialized in up there, like the Newport Richey area?
We're kind of everywhere.
Okay.
I'm in Newport Richey. I have one of my agents in Newport Richey. I have 2 in Clearwater, and I have 1 in Palm Harbor.
Okay, so they're spread out now throughout Pinellas a lot.
We do a lot. It's Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Hernando.
Cool. How big do you want the team to get? Do you know?
I don't want a huge team. I don't want a 100-member team. I manage 200 people in the pathology lab industry, and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So I would like about a 10-member team is good.
Okay, as long as they're the right people, right?
As long as they're the right people. I don't want butts and seats, right? I want I want the right people, and if it means 8 people is perfect, then that's great. If it means 12 is perfect, but that's great. I'm saying 10 because I think that that's a good number.
What do you think has been, say, one thing that you've learned in this year of focusing now on transitioning to a team builder? Maybe like what's been one challenge that you've faced that you've had to learn from, and one lesson possibly that you put to work that has really worked well, for you. What would you say about that?
So the biggest challenge I think is getting the systems out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't train other people to do things the way you want your team to be if it's all in your head.
Yep.
You can't expect somebody to follow a process that you don't have written anywhere.
It's not documented. Yeah.
Yes, and so really working on getting those processes and systems in place so that everybody knows what to do when, checklists and those kinds of things. So that was been the biggest challenge, and we're working really hard. Still working on some of that, but that's been probably one of the biggest challenges. Because then when an agent does something and you think, why would you do it that way? It was because I didn't tell them to do it any other way.
Right.
So that's been the biggest challenge. And then
the other one was, is there something you feel like you did really well that just worked? You were like, man, I crushed that. This was a win.
So a big thing is I have a large database because I've been here and I know a lot of people. My agents on my team, for the most part, don't.
Yeah.
And so trying to build people into their databases. And so we do a lot of events. We do events where we do giveaways. We gave away a one-night stay at the Hacienda Hotel in Newport Richey, the new renovated 1920s hotel.
It's cool.
We gave away a one-night stay there. And so then they call and register, and that way we get people in their databases that now my agents can practice calling and texting and, reaching out to. So trying to help grow their databases and get them out more into the community, I think we've done really well with.
That makes sense. And I think for most new agents, that's probably their number one concern, right? Is where my lead's going to come from? How hard is it going to be to build some sort of a lead flow system? That's why a lot of agents, I think, go and look for teams that are going to provide leads, right, for them, even though the best leads are always going to be self-generated.
I say I give out a few leads to my team. We do obviously generate leads and give out some leads to the team, but our biggest thing is that we teach them how to build their own leads.
Right.
It doesn't help to be on a team if all you're doing is being given leads because you still haven't learned how to generate your own.
Yeah.
And you're never going to, it's still your own business. Even if you're on a team, you're still growing your own business. And if you don't learn how to generate those leads on your own, that's not helping you.
Right.
So if somebody's just handing you leads, that's just not, you're not learning how to grow your business. The same as monitoring a P&L. And we go over that with our agents too, monitoring their business aspect of it. Because, a lot of agents sell a lot of houses, but still don't really make money because they don't monitor their expenses.
Yeah. They don't really track the profitability side. They just kind of focus on the top line, maybe.
Yeah,
so we try spending.
Yeah, so we try to show that too. So really, just teaching them to monitor their own businesses and treat it as if it's their own business.
Do you use do you know the book Profit First?
Yep,
have you read that?
Read that for sure.
Is that do you guys implement some of those things?
Yep, that's a great book. We MREA, millionaire real estate agent. We use that book a lot. And then another book that I love is A Happiness Advantage.
Yeah, I love that one too.
When I make money, I'm going to be happy. That's not the way it works. You got to be happy to make money,
That's the guy from Zappos that wrote that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he passed away now.
It's a very good book.
Yeah. I remember I read it, but it's been years ago now that I read it, but I remember loving it when I did. He's got a really interesting story of how he created that culture over there with Zappos for sure. I was thinking when you were talking about the old adage that it's better to teach a man how to fish rather than just give him fish, right? So that's kind of what you're describing, is having something in place that's providing a training on how to be self-sufficient so that they can truly grow their own lead flow no matter at any point where they are, because that's really what's going to give them independence and freedom, right, about their business, rather than just providing a lead flow that they're completely dependent on. So it makes sense.
You don't want an agent just calling you saying, hey, I didn't get any leads, I need a lead.
Yeah.
I want them to say, how can I build my own leads?
Exactly.
Help me do this, help me do that, and all day long I would help do that. So
do you worry about them leaving once they've figured out that they can do it themselves? Most
teams will tell you they have some attrition. They come and they go, but hopefully we have a team that's going to stay for a while.
Yeah.
But I do think that I think part of it is teaching them so they can do on their own, and they could leave and go on their own.
Sure.
But I think if you provide to them other things that they need, you end up keeping them.
And what do you think are the keys to that, like having them want to stay?
So teamwork, working together, it's always nicer to have a group of people working together than it is just sitting and working on your own.
Yeah.
And I think just creating that culture, teaching them to do things they might not have thought of, teaching them to go outside of their comfort zone.
Yep.
A lot of agents have their little things that they are comfortable doing, but now let's do something you're uncomfortable doing. Mm-hmm. I have one agent on my team that just wasn't really into the networking. And I said, but you don't have to go out and network and, go to happy hours every night. You don't have to do all of that. You just need to find a group where you fit. It could be a Rotary Club, a Chamber of Commerce, where do you fit?
Yep.
And find somewhere where you fit. And so they're able to then find that spot, not feel like they're networking, right? But be able to go out and just build relationships. And if you build one or two great relationships by being a member of an organization like that, that's where your business comes from.
For sure.
It's those that might not ever buy a house from you or sell their house with you, but they're your cheerleaders that are out there promoting you to everyone else who will.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Now, you're involved in a good amount of associations, if I remember correctly, up in your neck of the woods. Are you part of big BNI and stuff as well up there?
So I'm not in BNI because I have just always felt my own personal, and I have nothing against BNIs. I've been in BNIs before, but I get busy, or if I have a listing appointment,
Right.
BNI meeting.
And they're pretty strict about making sure
they're
you're at
very
those
strict
meetings.
about being there. And if I have, $1 million listing appointment that can't change their appointment, and this is the time they want, guess where I'm going?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I've not been involved in BNI, but I am in a lot of other networking groups in our area, including the Greater Pasco Chamber of Commerce, the West Pasco Business Association, past president of Rotary Club. I actually was elected to City Council last year, so I'm on the Newport Richey City Council as well.
Yeah.
I'm on the board as a director for the Alliance for Healthy Communities for Pasco County and the Alliance for Substance Addiction Prevention for Pasco County as well.
Awesome. I know when we had you on a panel one time, and I remember having your bio in front of me. I'm thinking, man, she's involved in a lot of things over there. She's really done a good job of branding herself in Pasco County, because
Yes.
it's just to have that much involvement with the community and the associations that you're a part of show that you're preaching, you're living what you're preaching, right? That you're actually integrated in that community. And I think that's pretty cool. So if you're somebody, especially in that area, you've probably heard of Kelly before because it seems like she's everywhere up in that Newport Richey area. What would you say, Kelly, you love the most about your business? What's most rewarding for you?
I love the people. I love, especially like when you have a first-time home buyer buying their first house, that's just such a great feeling. Or like we're working with a lot of veterans right now and being able to help a veteran who has not been able to find a home.
Yeah.
Being able to find something for them that they can afford, and with all the different programs, working with different programs, finding them something that works for them. I had a veteran recently, a single male veteran with a daughter, and just was really struggling finding the right place where he'd be comfortable with him and his daughter, and having minimum income to work with, and being able to find the right place that they just fell in love with, and being able to make it happen for them is such a good feeling.
That is cool. Is there a particular veterans organization that you guys do a lot of work with?
We work with a lot of different veterans organizations.
Okay.
I have a great lender that we work with that's really, really in tune to veterans. The owner actually lost his dad, who was a veteran, and he really does a great job with our veterans. I mean, he makes things happen that you can't find anywhere else.
I love that. Yeah, we did an event with Real Producers about 2 years ago, I guess it was. It'll be this fall anyway, called the Stars and Stripes Gala. Mm-hmm. And we partnered up with the Tunnel for Towers.
Yeah, we've done a lot with them too.
Yeah, and they have the big community now up in Land O'Lakes. I'm sure you've heard of that,
Yep.
where they built I don't remember exactly how many homes it is, but there's a community that's gifting homes to Gold Star families.
Yep.
And other first responder, families as well.
It's a great organization.
Yeah, they've really done a great job, it seems like, in being able to serve that niche. And I know there's so many other good organizations out there too, but it's a worthy cause to give back to.
There
for
are,
sure.
and everybody on our team, we all are kind of in tune with the veterans and the all the VA mortgage options and all of that. But they each have their own charitable organizations that they choose to work with, which is good. But we give back. I give back a percentage of every one of my closings to my son's memorial scholarship.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
We had an agent on our podcast about a year ago, maybe. Her name is Lindsay Hernandez, and she also lost a son at birth. It was I forget exactly the condition he was born with, but he passed away quickly after birth. And she created a foundation. I think his name was Christian, if I remember her son's name. And shout out to Lindsay. I know she watches sometimes. And I was very moved by her story because she created a foundation to help moms that go through that type of trauma. Can't imagine. I have 5 kids myself, so carrying a child for 9 months and then losing him without knowing in advance that was going to be the case, it's got to be heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And she's just done a great job building this foundation and helping women throughout. She lives over in Riverview area, but I didn't even know that you had a organization as well, and I didn't know that story about your son. So how old was your son when you lost him? You said 12?
Yeah, so he was 26 years old.
Oh,
it was
okay.
12 years
12
ago.
years ago. Gotcha.
He was 26, my only child. Lost him to a prescription drug overdose. And a couple of years after he passed away, I found out that I had a granddaughter.
Oh, wow.
He never knew he had a daughter.
Wow.
And so she, the mother found me, and I did grandparent DNA testing, and it came back 99%. She was my granddaughter.
Wow.
And she was 4 when I met her.
Wow.
And so she'll be 15 in September, and her and I are very close. They live in Boston now, and her mom's remarried and has more kids and stuff, but I get to see her whenever I want.
That's awesome.
So I was blessed to be able to, I mean, years after my son passed away, find out I had a granddaughter.
Yeah, wow, what a gift.
It was crazy, and I got the results on Christmas Eve that year.
Wow.
So I said that was his gift to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then
So he didn't even know, huh?
He didn't even know.
Wow.
And he would have been such a great dad.
Wow. So he passed at 20. He was your only child? Mm-hmm. And have you been married one time?
Yes.
Okay. So you're still with your husband today?
No,
You guys are okay. So that had to be hard for obviously both of you to be able to take for sure. And when that happened, like, what goes through your head as a mother, right, who loses a son in such a way? Like, I'm assuming, and I ask this because this is kind of in some ways an epidemic in our country right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
With
for sure.
With a lot of this going on, like, is there a lot of self-guilt? Like, did I do something wrong? Is it more?
There's a lot, yeah. I mean, I actually have sat on a couple of panels with Gus Bilirakis. I was years ago with Pam Bondi. I sat on a panel with her talking about it and was part of that movement that was able to help stop some of the doctor shopping for prescription medications. But you just, in the beginning, you're just trying to get through each day.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And then for me, everybody handles grief differently. And
Sure.
for me, it was talking about it. And so I got very involved in talking, and I started talking with NOPE, which is the Narcotics Overdose and Prevention Education. So I started educating in the schools, high schools, and talking to kids about it. I started talking to other organizations. That's how I get involved with the Alliance for Healthy Communities and the Alliance for Substance Addiction Prevention, and starting to talk at their events and talk to family members and talk to other parents going through it, talking to kids so that they see what they are actually putting their parents through.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't realize how everything is connected and how you touch everyone from
Sure.
one little stage of your life. And so that's how I got really involved in that. And for me, that helped me to kind of get through each day, was knowing I was able to at least talk about it and help other people.
Yeah, I can imagine what that would be like to have to go through it, but it's just really impressive. I always am, touched really by somebody who takes that grief and then converts it into something that's really making a difference, that's changing people's lives. Because I think it's easy for a lot of people who go through something like that to just obviously not know how to handle it at first, but then also not really use it as a tool that can actually be used for good, right?
Absolutely.
And you've obviously been able to do that, which is a testament to your character and taking what is a tragedy and turning it around. Hopefully, I'm assuming you've probably heard story after story of people that have thanked you and learned something from your testimony. And hopefully, has turned some people's lives around because of the whole, tragedy you had to go through.
Absolutely. And, I spoke at the NOPE, which is the Narcotics Overdose Prevention and Education. They do a candlelight vigil every year, and I've spoke at that candlelight vigil every year since my son passed.
Wow.
But every year it's a little bit different story. I got to introduce my granddaughter one year.
That's such a cool story.
Right. So you think that's it, everything's over, and then years later you find out you have a granddaughter,
Yeah.
So it's been huge, and her and I are very close. So that was really
Did you know the girl?
I did not.
You did not.
They
So how
dated-
did she?
So they dated for only a really short period of time, and she went back to an ex-boyfriend, and they got married. She found out she was pregnant, thought it was his. Mm-hmm. There was some question in the beginning about the timing, of course. And a couple years later, she got divorced.
Okay.
And during the divorce process, he questioned paternity because he didn't want to pay child support.
Oh.
And so the judge ordered paternity and found out it was not her husband's child.
Wow.
So that's how she knew it was my son Jason's child.
Wow.
And so she found me on social media And actually, she was looking for Jason, and that's when she found out he had passed away.
Wow.
And so she found me, and that was just like a crazy. Apparently, she had sent me a message back then. She sent me a message through Facebook, and I didn't know that in the messenger on Facebook there were two different ones.
Yeah,
where,
it could go to spam and stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't know all of that. This was 12 years ago. I was just started in Facebook, so I didn't know all of that. And so I guess her message had been there for a few months that I hadn't even seen. And when I did see it, I called her right away, and that was just like a whole crazy emotional day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, that's talk about changing your life. Right?
Oh my gosh! And so of course my friends are always, all right, we got your back, but let's talk through this first. You know, making sure that it is what it is, and so.
And she wasn't like asking for money necessarily, right?
She has never ever asked me for anything.
Yeah.
But your friends want to make sure because you're all emotional in this, and it's really hard for you to even look at things differently. And so, thankfully for my friends, and so I did the grandparent DNA testing, and it's like a saliva test you do on her and on me. And her mom brought her over, and we did that, and she introduced me as like a friend. She was only 4. And so we did the DNA testing, and we got the results back on Christmas Eve that year, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow, that is such
She looks just like my son.
Is that right?
Oh, my gosh. I have a picture of them at 5 years old, side by side, both with cowboy hats and boots on, and they look identical.
That's crazy. Wow, what a Christmas gift that was, huh? And she's how old now?
She'll be 15 in September.
Cool. And you have a good relationship with her mom as well?
Absolutely.
So you guys have stayed in touch?
Yep, we stay in touch. In fact, Mackenzie was just here for the summer. She was here for a couple weeks.
Okay.
She comes down for Christmas. She comes down for summer and spring break.
That's awesome. Wow, what a story. What other things? So on the personal side, I always like to try to cover some business stuff, which we have, and some personal side as well, just so that people get to know you, the whole you, a little bit more. What do you guys love to do for fun? What keeps you busy?
So we finally got to buy our house on the water. So we're on the river in Newport Richey, and
who's we now?
My boyfriend Mark and I.
Your boyfriend, okay.
So we've been together 9 years, and so the goal was to get a house on the water, so we could have the boat in the backyard and not have to keep driving to go get the boat, take it out, So we finally have the boat in the backyard. We love to go out in the boat. We love live music, so we travel a lot to see live music concerts. We saw George Strait in Nashville.
Nice.
We saw the Eagles in Los Angeles.
Nice.
We're going to see the Eagles again in Atlanta.
Big Eagles fan?
Yes.
I was just in Nashville with my family for a little summer vacation. That was one of the stops that we made, and we were there for only a couple days. But my son, who's 6, he fell in love with Nashville. He loved all the live music. You walk down Broadway, obviously, and it's just live music everywhere. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was a cool town. But if you do love live music, Nashville's the place to be, for sure.
Absolutely. We had a blast. We wanted to see George Strait, and he was coming to Tampa, but we were going to be out of town when he came. So we went and saw him in Nashville instead.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. And there's I think a couple good spots up by you too that offer some live music and whatnot out there, right?
Yeah,
they're building up that downtown area for sure.
Downtown's looking great. We have a lot more coming too. It's really changed like a 360.
Yeah. What's the big party they throw there every year with the not the parade?
Our Chasco Fiesta.
Chasco, that's
9
right.
days.
That's right. I know. I've been there a couple times. My uncle lives in Newport Richey. So he's invited it's actually my wife's uncle, but we're all family here. So we go there and hang out at Chasco every year. We've done, not every year, but we've done it a couple times. And I was always impressed by how big it was, man. They go all out.
It's huge, and it's 9 days, and we have live music every night.
Yeah.
We have 2 nights that are, one's typically a country night and one's a rock night. We work with Ruth Eckerd Hall, helps provide the artists for the rock night.
Yep.
And we have a big parade, and we have like events going on all week for 9 days. It's a huge deal. I was a little kid and remember a baton twirler in the parades when I was little. And so it was great. I was actually on the board for Chasco for a couple of years, and
of course you were.
That was, of course, right? That was one of those like full circle moments, being in the parade when I was a little kid, and now being on the board that puts the whole Chasco on.
That's cool.
Was really cool.
Yeah, I could see that. That's awesome. Couple other rapid fire questions. So, do you have a favorite book or author or seminar maybe that you've attended that you feel like has made a huge impact on you?
So I love The Happiness Advantage.
We mentioned that.
I think is a big deal. And I actually just went to Keller Williams Mega Camp, so it's very fresh in my mind. And
nice.
that was great this week. Tim Tebow was one of our keynote speakers.
Cool.
and he was very inspirational. It was a very good talk that he had. Came away with a lot of little nuggets, and a lot of it was just seeing that, you know, a lot of our industry is moving towards doing more in the community and giving back, and charitable organizations, and a lot of that. So that was really good to see, because I'm like, I've been doing that all along.
Absolutely. You're a trailblazer.
Yeah, so it was great to see
Was that in Texas?
Yeah, that was in Austin. Yeah, it was great. And so that was really good to see. And so he was a really great speaker. And there were so many really great inspirational speakers there this time. Another big thing, of course, is working your database, you know, and reaching out and staying in touch with your people.
Yeah.
And it's not reaching out to say, hey, do you want to buy a house? You know anybody wants to buy a house? I don't reach out and ask anybody that question.
Right.
I reach out and say, hey, how are you? It's been a while. You know, I reach out to people I don't even remember who they are in my database and say, I found you in my database today, and I don't remember how we met.
Yep.
You know, and just trying to stay in touch with people.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm an avid reader for sure. So historically, would read all these books and then like not put it to work, right? Not immediately put it to application. So I've slowed down the number of books that I read now and really try to be intentional about what am I taking from this book that I can immediately put to work in my life and actually benefit something, you know, from it, rather than just accumulating information.
That's just like the events, you know, and even when my agents go to events too, we try to come back and write down 2 or 3 things that we want to absolutely take from there and put into play, because you get so much information that by the time you come back, you end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so you have to immediately start with 2 or 3 things that you really want to work on right away in order to make it worth going to that event.
Yeah, I think that's a common challenge that a lot of people deal with when they invest money into these events.
Happened to me many times.
Yes, me too.
Many times.
I can relate for sure. Do you have a favorite TV show or movie?
TV show. So you're gonna laugh because I like all of the Gordon Ramsay cooking shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing. Mark and I both really like those shows. Below Deck, I like that show too. It's like I guess it's the drama in all of that I like.
I don't think I've ever seen that. What's that?
Below Deck. So that's they're on yachts. Like
okay.
Chartered yachts, and it's the crew, and it's all about the stories going on with the crew and
Gotcha.
the people that come on these big yachts. And you know,
I like yachts.
They spend big money on these yachts, right?
Yeah.
They spend all this big money on the yachts, but it's a lot about the crew and how the crew interacts with them. So it says Below Deck, so it's kind of the crew, what goes on in the crew.
Sure.
So it's
the real people that running the ship,
yeah,
right?
So I think it's just, you know, that drama makes you feel better about you not having all that drama in your life, right?
That's right.
So I think you walk away going, okay, I'm good.
Yes. I thought my life was stressful.
Yes.
These guys are crazy.
Exactly. I think that's what it's about. But yeah, I don't watch a ton of TV, but those are a couple shows I like.
Do you have a favorite food?
Favorite food? A steak, but I'm a really steak snob.
You are a steak snob.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite steakhouse over there in Newport Richey?
So I love Charlie's here.
Okay.
I love Currents in Tarpon Springs.
Okay.
And then Newport Richey, we're still working on a great steak. Although I did have one really great at a new restaurant called the Estuary the other night.
Oh, I've never been there.
Brand new, right on Grand Boulevard, just off of Main Street.
Okay.
It's called the Estuary. Really good food.
Yeah, it sounds like a fancy name.
Yep.
We'll have to check it out sometime. I
Yeah.
bring Lauren out there every now and again, so we'll have to check that
We
spot
have
out.
some really great new restaurants and things coming in too.
Yeah, no doubt. I know that area is growing a lot. One of my last questions I typically ask, and I call it a legacy question, and I think it makes people think a little bit. Well, I got 2 more questions for you. One is, when you think about the future, what gets you fired up? What are you most excited about here over the next, say, 12 to 24 months? It could be business or personal. What's something that really gets you excited?
I'm definitely excited where my team's at and where we're going.
Okay.
I feel the best about my team today that I've ever felt. So I'm super excited about the people on my team, how we're growing, what we're doing. I love that they're all involved. When I say I want to do an event, they all jump on board.
That's cool.
Which is really cool. And when you haven't had that in the past, it's really great to have a team that's like, I'm all in. So I think you're gonna see great things from us.
Yeah, there's something fun about when I know what it's like to have some individual success in a sales environment, sales world. I've done that in various sales careers that I've had. But then when you've been focused on team building, there's a different, at least in my experience, fulfillment that you get when you can see success collectively, you know,
Yes.
as a group than individually. So I can feel what you're saying there.
For sure. And then personally, I'm finally getting to take a Greek Isles cruise in
Nice.
October, which we planned for 3 years, and because of COVID, it was canceled for 3 years.
Oh, that should be
So
awesome.
We're finally getting to go this year, so that's we're
You and
really
Mark?
excited. Yeah, me and Mark and a couple of friends of ours are going as well. My birthday's end of September, so it's kind of a birthday cruise.
Perfect. Oh, that's going to be beautiful. That's on my list as well. I've never been out there, but I see it every time I see friends out there. It looks so gorgeous.
Well, you're going to see lots of pictures soon.
We'll have to throw you in another Real Producer feature. We have a travel section sometimes.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be great.
grab your favorite pictures and we'll get them up there.
We went to Ireland last year, and that was awesome, but I'm really excited
cool.
about the Greek Isles.
Did you have a favorite place in Ireland when you stopped in?
We were in Dublin. We love Dublin.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really
I've been
great.
there as well.
And we've seen a lot. We did a lot while we were in Ireland.
Did you get to go to Galway?
We did go to Galway.
Yeah, I liked Galway even better than Dublin, in my opinion. I felt like it was more real Ireland, is how, at least
More
in my
traditional,
mind.
yeah. For sure.
Dublin was, it was weird to me too how there's no like skyscrapers out there. Like Dublin, the Guinness factory, that's the biggest building, in Dublin.
Did you get to kiss the Blarney Stone?
No, we didn't.
Oh, I did.
You did, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
hear you're
brought
not
me
supposed to. Isn't there like urine all over it or something?
I don't know. I don't know, but I had a really good year, and I think it's because of that.
Oh, there we go. That might be. That might be. I guess the myth is true. Who knows?
Yes, exactly.
That's exciting. When you think, Kelly, in terms of your legacy and what you would want to be remembered for when you're sitting on the rocking chair one day and looking back, what do you think is most important to you about your legacy and what you want to leave behind?
I hope that people remember me as somebody who did a lot to help others. Somebody who just was involved and active in just helping other people in whatever aspect that is. Whether they remember me as, or even as a realtor or not, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Mm-hmm. Just that I was able to do things and give back. I mean, I get asked all the time, why would you want to be on city council?
Yeah.
And I ran for office, so you have to campaign for that. And I got elected last year, and it was because it's my community. It's where I grew up. It's where I live, and I wanted to see the good changes that have been happening. I wanted to see those continue. Yep. And you can complain about things, but if you're not going to jump in and try to fix them, you shouldn't be complaining about them.
For sure.
So I felt like there were
Take action.
there were things I wanted to see done. So I thought that it was part of my responsibility to jump in and help get them done.
That's awesome. And I think that's a good piece of advice for anybody to it's easy to complain, right? And we all probably have a tendency to do that. It's the easier thing to do. But to actually try to do something about it and get involved in an organization that might make a change, that takes a certain level of commitment, right, and character, and you've obviously shown that you're willing to do that. So this has been fun. I'm glad to have you on the show. Thanks. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, Kelly, I guess if they wanted to impress you, they just got to give you Eagles tickets, right? Is that the way to your heart? So Eagles tickets or to a nice steakhouse, right, is the way to connect with Kelly, I guess. If someone wanted to pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way to reach you?
Sure. So you can reach me on my cell, which is 813-843-2354. My email address is just kmothershead@kw.com. Or we have a website, which is kellyshometeam.net.
Awesome. We'll get that up there on the description as well when we post it. I'm glad you were able to make it today. This was fun. It was painless, right? Quick and painless?
Painless. It was awesome.
That works. It was great. I always end every episode with the same challenge, and that is to try to take something from this conversation that Kelly and I just had and implement it, right? If you're going to invest the time, just like we just talked about, going to events and sometimes not putting to work the things that you're learning. And if you listen to this podcast for the last 30, 40 minutes and you don't do anything from one of the discussion points, then I would encourage you to reverse that pattern and to put something to work. Maybe it's simply getting involved in events if you're in real estate and you want to try to figure out what's your lead strategy going to be. You heard Kelly talk about how events and her network has been a big part of her program. Maybe you need to get a coach. I know Kelly talked about the importance of that, as well as getting things going with her team leader when she first got started. So there's other components that we discussed here. Maybe you just need to buy Kelly some Eagles tickets, but whatever it might be, take an action step today that'll get you closer to becoming a real producer yourself. And if you're already a real producer, it's time to take your game to the next level. So we'll see you on the next episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. Check you later.
Thank you.